The Chilean military dictatorship began with the coup that overthrew the government of President Salvador Allende. It was the dictatorial regime established in Chile between September 11, 1973 and March 11, 1990. From the beginning of this was established fear and repression. During the 70 years human rights were systematically violated from the state toward anyone who was against this regime. Focusing on this we can question the level of aggression used to diminish the opposition and reflect on whether so much violence is justifiable.
During this period, the women were cruelly tortured for being pollution, supported since and the time they lived in patriarchal society, where the right things was for the woman to limit herself fully her role as woman. During these lakes, for example, make no housewife dedication herself to a husband and children, become the mother of her own children and her husband.
One of the most emblematic events of women who rose up against the regime in the case of Nieve Aires. This young woman of just 17 years was detained with her father and brother a week after the coup, were taken to one of the first clandestine centers of torture, the National Stadium. This was one of the first to discover that there were use of this cruel practice. Years after that dark period, Nieves decides to give his testimony to that the experiences of her and her companions were not forgotten and that those criminals were not left unpunished. Without a doubt, his testimony was one of the most crude, faithful demonstration of all the cruelty with which all those who were on the side of Augusto Pinochet were handled.
My brother and me, we were always part of social movement. On the 11th of September, we went to the port quarter of the Ligua, where there were clashes with the military. A week later, I was arrested for the first time and taken to the National Stadium. I was detained for 2 weeks and began to be tortured. Then I was released without giving me any explanation. In January of 1974, fell for the second time to the orders of the DINA, directed by General Manuel Contreras. I was at my father's factory. They handcuffed me and took to our family house in San Miguel and also arrested my father and my brother Tato. From there I was led to a torture center at number 38 in London Street, also known as the house gives the title. I stayed alone for 2 weekends and was treated savagely. The suffering of the Nieve is not over, on the contrary, just begin. It is not expected that the 6 months will become the worst day of his life.
I was incommunicado. This was another training site for torture and the memories I have of absolute brutality. I was further performed sexual act with a dog that had been especially prepared for this type of abuse. They also put right inside my vagina and they gave me electric shocks. The rat desperate sank there close inside me. They urinated and defecated in my body. Then I was inoculated with the toxoplasmosis virus. I was constantly raped and forced to have oral sex with my captors. They cut the superficial layers of my belly with a knife and my ears. Then they poured alcohol in my wounds and applied electric current to me. The scars on my body can still be seen. They put bottles of Coca-Cola in my anus and shouted, "This is for you to feel empowered."
Contreras declared had pointed out that they should be proud to belong to the DINA. From this and the testimony of Nieves, we can identify that the military didn't feel any kind of guilt to make jokes while committing such an act of cruelty, and to believe that one must be proud to have been party of so many torture show it in its entirety the dehumanization.
Women were given covered in their genitals and breasts. They were all burned with cigarettes. Said Fonsalida, a ring touch Contreras to him once that he should be proud to belong to the DINA.
From here we can ask ourselves how it is possible to feel prone to the be part, how corporations that from the violence sought to the silence the talks of those who didn't agree with the regime in order to regenerate a society with ignorant individualistic people and unable to raise their voice to claim what is theirs.
It was administered by an order of nuns. I realized what I was pregnant. A doctor named Mary, a soldier, confirmed my pregnancy and told me that I should be proud to have a shield of fatherland. That is to say, a product of military violation. My situation caused a great international controversy because my mother and all my family had denounced my prison and torture. I was interviewed by the International Red Cross, Amnesty International, the Kennedy Commission, the OIS Commission of Human Rights, Cardinal Silva Enriquez, and military wives. They offered my freedom if I didn't report rapid pregnancy. The nurse offered to help me ask for a permit that would allow me to abort. I had to recite a rescue to the cardinal and raise it to the pope.
In Chile, abortion was punishable by land. I was very poor physical condition, very weak, so I decided to have my son. After having survived so much detention and cruel abuse, I was not going to give the military the pleasure of dying. However, in May I had a miscarriage, but I did not receive medical attention or medicine. From Vicuña Maquena, they took me to Tres Alamos, another concentration camp. I was subjected again to ribs, the rat, and even a mock shooting. In December 1976, I was expelled from Chile with 17 political prisoners. Among them were my colleague Victor Toro, Gladys Diaz, and Dr. Ruiz Corbalán. The degree of expulsion indicated that we could never return to our homeland. With the solidarity of many people and meaning to stay and live in Berlin.
At the end of 1977, I went to Cuba in Calixto Garcia Hospital without having to pay a penny. I was tried with toxoplasmosis. I removed the vagina and all my body so that I could beget. I treated the vaginal infection, the calcification, and defense caused by the phone. They fixed the scar of the body and the ears, and they operated my feet deformed by the abuse. They also gave me psychological therapy in a saint of Cubans, solidarity impossible to pay.
Despite everything that Pinochet hitmen did to me, I was able to survive. I still have psychological consequences for everything I had to live. I feel permanent pain in the knees, against knees and feet. I have marks and scars all over my body. When I see a rat, I feel a reflex pain in the vagina. I feel anxiety, nightmares, and depression. I have overcome some of those consequences. For example, the fear of confinement arising from the risks that I suffer in the bathroom of the London Street prison, but I am still very emotional sensitive.
My family was divided, disturbed me, and my whole life changed after the military coup. But alas, I'm here, resurrected. With my husband, Victor Toro, we have a daughter, Rosita. And 21 years ago, I returned to Chile with her, and I could tell my mother torture. Here I am, and here is my daughter. They tortured me, but it didn't destroy me. They didn't screen me because I had a daughter.
It shows his personal struggle which despite all the time of military failure to overcome, it is no. I didn't give up because we'll still have a hope of being able to make change for a common good and not giving them the satisfaction of seeing it fall. Many defend the practice carried out by some military, asserting was necessary to put on the population social and economic disaster and exist at the time, stating that they brought great economic stability as a provider creates new hopes and reducing inequality of the population. I do not think the dictatorship was so bad. It was a moment of great security in the tree for the normal people. No you one Austric in Santiago, and there the money drugs, and didn't exist on the train. Some you people who didn't live during the dictatorship, they have turned in for some time, but people of my age who life can remember the good and the bad. Current BBC News were making sure there was security on the street and it was when it really happening. A newspaper at which many young people were arrested and the alleged percent of them had no justification.
Second, they ensured that the free market reform implemented by the military government in the 70s and 80s laid the foundation for subsequent economic prosperity. It is true that in 1973 Chile was in beautiful state. Allende had been in power for 3 years and the country was increasingly divided by ideology. A series of tricks of trucker and copper miners had weakened the economy. Right-wing paramilitary groups were sabotaging power lines and transport routes.
After seizing power, the military government opened the economy to the free market, meaning companies were invited to return to the country, and the education and pension system were privatized. After the coup, there was a reduction in poverty and unemployment. Yet it is not enough to justify so many dates, violation of rights, and desolate family members.
The dictatorship may have brought improvement in the economic model, exclusively for businessmen and people of the Chilean elite, leaving the rest of the population aside. However, this does not justify cruelty against those who possessed a different ideology. Thanks to dictatorship, an individualistic and distrustful system was established for representatives, young people who are no longer interested in politics because they do not believe in future changes. In this way, the dictatorship achieved its purpose, that the people remained in the status quo, people who do not show up, who do not assert their rights and conformist people.